the far reaches of deep space where suns have long since died and galaxies whisper only silence, a scream echoed, not a sound, not a voice, but a cry. Raw, desperate, laced with fear, ripping across the void from a forgotten corner of the stars. Theta 7, a peaceful Zephyrian research station, had uncovered something it was never meant to find: an ancient energy, a dead galaxy, and the attention of monsters. The Krex Dominion descended, merciless, cruel, armed for annihilation. The Zephyrians were scholars, thinkers, gentle beings who had never known war, so they did the only thing they could. They begged. They called into the dark for anyone to hear, and someone did. Not the great empires, not the Galactic Council, not the ones with fleets and flags and treaties. It was Earth, a species no one knew, a name long lost in the footnotes of star charts. But when the void screamed for help, humanity answered. And what arrived wasn't just a fleet. It was the wrath of a Deathworld doctor. Kes Valan pressed her crystalline blue palm against the observation deck's viewing port, watching the swirling cosmic dust dance in the void beyond Research Station Theta 7. Her species, the Zephyrians, had evolved on a world of perfect harmony where conflict was as foreign as the concept of intentional cruelty. Their translucent skin shifted colors with their emotions, and right now, Kes's epidermis pulsed with the deep purple of scientific curiosity mixed with growing concern. The station hung in the darkness between galaxies, a monument to Zephyrian dedication to knowledge. For 3 rotations, her team had been studying the mysterious energy readings emanating from what their star charts labeled as Sector Null 9, a region where an entire galaxy had gone silent eons ago. The readings defied everything they knew about physics, suggesting technology so advanced it bordered on the incomprehensible. Dr. Valen, came the melodic voice of her research assistant, Nyx. His skin flickered with the bright yellow of excitement. The quantum resonance readings are increasing. Whatever is out there, it's becoming more active. Kes turned from the viewport, her mind racing through possibilities. The Zephyrian Alliance had always been a peaceful collective of species dedicated to scientific advancement and cultural exchange. They had no military beyond basic security forces, no weapons beyond what was necessary for mining operations. Their strength lay in diplomacy, trade, and the sharing of knowledge. Maintain our distance, she instructed. Continue passive scanning only. If this technology is as advanced as our readings suggest, we don't want to appear threatening. The Research Station Theta 7 was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Built by 17 different species within the Alliance, it combined the best of each civilization's technology. The Zephyrian quantum computers processed data alongside Helian bio-neural networks, while Cortin crystal matrices stored vast amounts of information. The station itself was more laboratory than fortress, designed for discovery rather than defense. As Kes reviewed the latest data streams, her skin began shifting to the orange of worry. The energy patterns weren't just ancient technology reactivating. They were distress signals. Someone or something in that dead galaxy was calling for help, and the signals were growing stronger by the hour. Dr. Vallon, Nyx's voice cracked with fear, his skin now a stark white of terror. We have incoming vessels, multiple ships, unknown configuration. The main display lit up with tactical data as 15 warships dropped out of hyperspace. They were ugly things, built for intimidation rather than beauty. Black hulls bristled with weapon emplacements, and energy readings suggested shields powerful, enough to withstand significant bombardment. These were not exploration vessels or trade ships. These were instruments of war. Open communications, Kes ordered, though her voice trembled. The Zephyrians had encountered aggressive species before, but always within established diplomatic channels. This was something different, something predatory. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that made several research assistants step back in shock. The being had gray, leathery skin marked with ritual scars, eyes like burning coals, and teeth filed to sharp points. When it spoke, its voice was a growl that seemed to physically vibrate through the station's hull. I am Warlord Grex of the Krex Dominion, the creature announced. You will surrender your research data and evacuate this station immediately. You have one standard time unit to comply. Kes felt her skin cycle through several colors before settling on the pale blue of diplomatic calm. I am Dr. Kes Vallon, senior researcher of the Zephyrian Alliance. This is a scientific expedition in neutral space. We have no military capabilities and pose no threat to anyone. Grex's laugh was like grinding metal. Threat? You crystal-skinned weaklings couldn't threaten a space slug. We want your data on the Sector Null 9 energy signatures. The Krex Dominion claims salvage rights to whatever ancient technology you've discovered. The research belongs to the Alliance, Kes replied, though she could feel her resolve wavering. It will be shared freely with all peaceful species once our studies are complete. There are no peaceful species, Grex snarled. There are only the strong and the food. You have 30 time units to transfer all data and abandon this station. After that, we take what we want and leave no witnesses. The transmission ended, leaving the research deck in stunned silence. The Zephyrians had no concept of unprovoked aggression. Their worst conflicts involved passionate disagreements about research methodology or resource allocation. This casual threat of violence was beyond their experience. What do we do? Asked Nix, his skin now cycling rapidly between white fear and red panic. Kes looked around at her team. 23 scientists, 12 technicians, and 8 security personnel who were trained to handle equipment malfunctions and medical emergencies, not military assault. The station's defensive systems consisted of basic energy shields designed to deflect space debris and minor asteroid impacts. Send a priority distress signal on all Alliance frequencies, she ordered. Include our research data and a full report of the situation. If we don't survive this, at least our discoveries will endure. The communications officer, a young Zephyrian named Dex, whose skin had gone completely gray with despair, worked frantically at his console. Signal sent on all Alliance channels, Dr. Vallon. But the nearest Alliance fleet is 12 light-years away. Even at maximum hyperdrive speed, they couldn't reach us in time. Kes nodded grimly. She had known it was hopeless, but they had to try. The Zephyrian way was to face extinction with dignity and ensure that knowledge survived even when its creators did not. Expand the signal, she said quietly. All frequencies. All known communication protocols. Maybe someone else will hear. Us? Ma'am, Dex said hesitantly. That would include frequencies used by unknown species. We could be contacting civilizations we've never encountered before. At this point, Kes replied, watching the Krex ships move into attack formation. Any help is better than none. The distress signal burst outward from Theta 7, traveling faster than light across vast distances. It carried the story of a peaceful research station, a scientific discovery of potentially galaxy-changing importance, and a desperate plea for assistance against overwhelming odds. The message was translated into hundreds of languages and broadcast, on every frequency known to galactic civilization. Most species who received it dismissed the signal as another problem for someone else to solve. The galaxy was full of conflicts, and few civilizations would risk their own ships to save strangers. But the signal didn't stop at known space. It continued outward, reaching into unexplored regions where cartographers had written, "Here there, be monsters." 3 light-years away, in a solar system not marked on any galactic chart, the signal was received by a species that had been watching the galaxy for decades, without revealing themselves. They had observed the rise and fall of empires, the spread of trade routes, and the endless cycle of conflict that seemed to define galactic civilization. They had debated among themselves whether to make contact, but had always decided that the galaxy was too dangerous, too chaotic for peaceful coexistence. Captain Thane Reeves stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, a heavy cruiser that represented the pinnacle of Terran engineering. Around him, his crew worked with the calm efficiency of professionals who had trained for this moment their entire careers. The ship's artificial intelligence, Aria, had intercepted and translated the Zephyrian distress signal within minutes of its arrival. "Analysis complete, Captain," reported his tactical officer, Commander Lisa Park. The signal originated from coordinates consistent with deep space research operations. Unknown alien species requesting assistance against aggressive, force of superior numbers. Thane studied the tactical display showing the estimated positions based on the signal's origin point. 15 enemy ships against what appeared to be an unarmed research station. In human terms, it was like a pack of wolves attacking a library. Time. To intercept, he asked. 4 hours at maximum burn, replied his navigation officer. Sir, interrupted his communications specialist, Engineer Jax Morrison, I've been analyzing the linguistic patterns in the distress signal. These Zephyrians appear to be completely peaceful. Their language has no words for concepts like enemy or warfare. They're calling for help against something they literally can't comprehend. Thane nodded slowly. Humanity had spent the last 50 years developing faster-than-light travel and exploring their local stellar neighborhood. They had found evidence of galactic civilization but had remained hidden, observing from a distance while they decided how to approach contact with alien species. The universal translator technology they had developed from intercepted communications was about to get its first real test. Orders, sir? Asked Commander Park. Thane looked at the display showing the distant research station and its attackers. Every human naval officer had grown up learning about humanity's core principles. Never leave anyone behind, protect the innocent, stand up to bullies. These Zephyrians might be aliens, but they were clearly the innocent party in this conflict. Set course for the research station, he ordered. Maximum burn and send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we're about to make first contact with galactic civilization, and we're going in hot. The Prometheus turned in space, its fusion drives burning bright blue as it accelerated toward the coordinates. Behind it, 2 more human ships that had been on patrol in the outer system received emergency orders and began following their flagship toward an unknown destiny. On Research Station Theta 7, Dr. Kess Vallon watched her chronometer count down the final minutes before the Crex Dominion's ultimatum expired. Her skin had settled into the deep violet of resigned acceptance. She had lived a good life dedicated to expanding the boundaries of knowledge. If this was how it ended, at least her research would survive in the Alliance databases. Dr. Valen, Dex called out suddenly, his skin flickering with confused yellow. I'm receiving a response to our distress signal. Kess felt a spark of hope, though she tried to suppress it. Alliance ships? No, ma'am. Unknown origin. The signal is coming from outside charted space. Dex paused, working frantically to decode the transmission. Ma'am, they're saying help is on the way. 3 ships, ETA 37 minutes. Around the research deck, Zephyrian's skin began shifting from despair gray to hopeful green. 3 ships against 15 was still impossible. Odds, but at least they wouldn't die alone and forgotten. What species? Kess asked. Dex checked his readings again, frowning in confusion. They call themselves humans? From a planet called Earth. I've never heard of either, ma'am. They're not in any of our databases. Kess stared at the tactical display showing the approaching Crex fleet. In 20 minutes, Warlord Grex would begin his attack. 37 minutes after that, these mysterious humans would arrive to find only wreckage. Still, knowing that someone had heard their call and cared enough to respond gave her comfort. She just hoped these humans wouldn't become additional casualties of the Crex Dominion's greed. The galaxy had enough tragedy without adding the destruction of a species that had shown compassion to strangers. Time ticked away toward an uncertain confrontation that would change the course of galactic history. Deathworld unleashed the Dio. Crex Dominion fleet moved into attack formation around Research Station Theta 7 with the casual confidence of predators who had never encountered serious resistance. Warlord Grex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, watching. His tactical display showed the pathetic defensive capabilities of the Zephyrian station. Their shields wouldn't last 5 minutes under concentrated fire. Warlord, his tactical officer reported, the crystal skins have sent distress signals across multiple frequencies. Should we jam their communications? Grex's scarred face twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. Let them call for help. I want the galaxy to watch what happens to those who refuse the Crex Dominion. Fear is our greatest weapon. The Kreks had built their empire on intimidation and overwhelming force. They conquered civilizations by making examples of those who resisted, broadcasting the destruction across known space until entire sectors surrendered without firing a shot. This research station would become another lesson in the futility of opposing their will. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're detecting 3 ships approaching at high velocity. Unknown configuration." Grex barely glanced at the display. "Estimated arrival time?" 32 minutes, sir. "The station will be debris in 15. Let whoever is coming see what happens to those who interfere with Krex operations." Grex turned to his weapons officer. "Begin the attack. Target their shield generators first. I want them to feel helpless before they die." The Krex ships opened fire with coordinated precision. Energy beams and missile barrages converged on the research station's defensive barriers. The shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the assault, but everyone watching knew they couldn't hold for long. On Theta 7, Dr. Kes Valan felt the station shudder under the impact of enemy weapons. Emergency lights flickered as power was diverted to the failing shields. Around her, the research team worked frantically to upload their data to secure servers, ensuring their discoveries would survive even if they didn't. "Shields at 60% and falling," reported Security Chief Tam, one of the few Zephyrians on the station who had military training. "At this rate, we have maybe 10 minutes before they penetrate our defenses." Kes nodded, her skin cycling through colors that reflected her tumultuous emotions. Pride in her team's dedication, sorrow at their impending deaths, and a strange sense of peace knowing they had lived according to Zephyrian principles of knowledge and compassion. "Dr. Valen," Dex called out from his communication station, "the unknown ships are transmitting on multiple frequencies. They're trying to establish contact protocols." "With us or the Kreks?" Kes asked. "Both, ma'am. They're requesting immediate cessation of hostilities and offering to mediate the conflict." Warlord Grex received the same transmission on his flagship. The alien voice spoke in accented but understandable Galactic standard, translated by systems that shouldn't have existed according to his intelligence reports. "Krex vessels. This is Captain Thane Reeves of the Terran vessel Prometheus. You are attacking a peaceful research station in neutral space. Cease your assault immediately and withdraw from this system." Grex laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "And what will you do if we refuse, Captain Reeves? You have 3 ships. I have 15. The response came back immediately, delivered in a calm tone that somehow made it more threatening than if it had been shouted. "Then we'll remove you from this system by force." "You cannot be serious," Grex replied. "What species are you? I've never heard of humans or Terrans. Are you another client race begging for scraps from your betters?" "We're from Earth," came the reply. "And we don't have client races. We have friends, allies, and people who need our help." The Zephyrians fall into the 3rd category. Grex studied his tactical display more carefully. The 3 approaching ships were smaller than his heavy cruisers, but built with unusual design principles. Their hulls were thick and heavily armored, bristling with weapon emplacements and sensor arrays. They looked more like mobile fortresses than exploration vessels. "Perhaps you didn't understand me," Grex transmitted. "I am Warlord Grex of the Krex Dominion. We have conquered 47 star systems. Our fleet has never been defeated in battle. Withdraw now and live to flee another day." The human response was immediate and chilling in its simplicity. "We're not leaving." Grex felt a moment of uncertainty, quickly suppressed. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Either way, they would be dead within the hour. "All ships maintain attack on the station, Squadrons 7 through 9. Intercept the unknown vessels. Let's see what these humans are made of." 9 Krex warships peeled away from the station, assault and accelerated toward the approaching human fleet. They opened fire at maximum range, sending waves of energy beams and guided missiles toward their targets. The weapons were designed to overwhelm shields and punch through standard armor plating. What happened next defied every principle of space combat that Grex understood. The human ships didn't try to evade the incoming fire. Instead, they flew directly into the weapons barrage. their thick armor absorbing hits that should have crippled them. Strange point defense systems erupted from their hulls, filling space with projectile weapons that destroyed incoming missiles, with surgical precision. "What kind of armor are they using?" Grex demanded. His technical officer stared at his readings in confusion. "Unknown composition, sir. Our weapons are causing damage, but their hull integrity remains at acceptable levels. They're not even slowing down." The human ships reached optimal firing range and unleashed their own weapons. Grex watched in fascination as kinetic projectiles, launched from magnetic rail systems, struck his vessels with devastating force. The solid metal slugs punched through energy shields like they weren't there, creating massive holes in ship hulls and causing catastrophic decompression. "Impossible," he breathed. "Energy shields should stop solid projectiles." 2 of his ships were already dead in space, their crews either evacuated or killed by the sudden hull breaches. The humans were using weapons technology that his scientists claimed was obsolete, but somehow making it devastatingly effective. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "Captain Reeves is transmitting again." The human captain's image appeared on the main screen, and Grex got his first good look at their species. They were shorter than Krex, with smooth skin instead of scales, but there was something in their eyes that made the warlord unconsciously step back. These weren't the soft, philosophical creatures he usually conquered. There was a predatory intelligence there, a calculated aggression that spoke of evolution on a dangerous world. "Warlord Grex," Captain Reeves said calmly, "you've now lost 2 ships and we haven't even gotten serious yet. Final warning, withdraw from the system or we'll destroy your entire fleet." Grex forced himself to stand straighter. "You're outnumbered. 5-1 just in the ships engaging you. The rest of my fleet will join the battle soon." "No, they won't," Reeves replied with disturbing confidence. "They're about to have their own problems." On his tactical display, Grex watched in horror as 2 more human ships appeared behind his main fleet. They had somehow approached, undetected, and were now in perfect position to attack his vessels while they were focused on the research station. The newcomers were larger than the first 3 ships, and when they opened fire, their weapons were unlike anything in Grex's experience. Instead of energy beams or kinetic projectiles, they launched clouds of metallic particles that seemed to move with directed intelligence. The particles swarmed over Krex ships like living things, boring through armor and seeking critical systems. "Nanite swarms," reported his technical officer in amazement. "They're using self-replicating micromachines as weapons. I've never seen anything like it." Within minutes, half of Grex's fleet was disabled or destroyed. The humans fought with a combination of advanced technology and tactical brilliance that overwhelmed his forces. They used the research station itself as cover, coordinating their attacks to maximize damage while minimizing their own exposure. But it was their boarding actions that truly terrified him. As Krex ships lost propulsion and found themselves dead in space, human assault shuttles launched from the larger vessels. The shuttles were small, fast, and heavily armored, designed to penetrate enemy hulls and deploy troops inside captured ships. The Krex Marines who tried to repel the boarders found themselves facing something beyond their worst nightmares. The humans wore powered armor that turned them into walking tanks, and they moved through ship corridors with a fluid coordination that spoke of extensive training in close-quarters combat. "Sir," one of his ship captains reported over the communications, "Network, the humans are taking prisoners. They're not killing our crews after they surrender." This was almost more shocking than their military prowess. In galactic warfare, surrender usually meant death or slavery. The concept of treating enemy combatants with mercy was so foreign that several Krex captains didn't understand what was happening when human Marines secured their ships but left the crews alive. "Warlord," his tactical officer said quietly, "we've lost 12 ships. The remainder are requesting permission to withdraw." Grex stared at the tactical display showing the destruction of his fleet. The humans had accomplished in 30 minutes what should have been impossible. They had outfought, outmaneuvered, and outthought an enemy with superior numbers using tactics and technology that defied conventional wisdom. "Sir," his communications officer added, "Captain Reeves is requesting to speak with you again." The human captain's image reappeared, but now he was flanked by 2 of his officers. One was a woman with silver hair and calculating eyes, the other a younger man whose uniform bore engineering insignia. All three looked calm and professional, as if they had just completed a routine training exercise rather than decimated a major fleet. "Warlord Grex," Reeves said, "your remaining ships are surrounded and outgunned. I'm prepared to accept your surrender and guarantee the safety of your crews." "You want to take prisoners?" Grex asked, genuinely confused. "We want to end this, without unnecessary bloodshed," the human replied. "Your people followed orders. We hold you responsible, not them." Grex felt something he had never experienced before. Genuine fear. Not fear of death, which was a constant companion in his profession, but fear of something larger. These humans represented a new factor in galactic politics, a species with advanced technology, superior tactics, and a moral code that made them potentially more dangerous than any conqueror. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. "Complete withdrawal from this system," Reeves replied. "Return of any Zephyrian property or personnel you may have taken in previous raids, and a guarantee that the Krex Dominion will cease all aggressive actions against member species of the Zephyrian Alliance." "And if I refuse?" Captain Reeves's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "Then we hunt down every ship in your fleet and every base in your territory until the Krex Dominion exists only in history books. Your choice, Warlord." The Bridge of the Bone Crusher was silent as Grex considered his options. He could continue fighting, and likely, lose his remaining ships, or he could accept terms that would effectively end Krex expansion into this sector of space. "I accept your terms," he said finally. "Smart choice," Reeves replied. "One of our ships will escort you to the edge of the system. And Warlord, if we hear about you threatening peaceful species again, we'll be back." As the surviving Krex vessels limped away under human escort, Dr. Kes Valon found herself face to face with the beings who had saved her station. Captain Reeves had transported over with a small diplomatic team, and she was amazed to discover that humans looked remarkably similar to several other humanoid species in the galaxy. "Dr. Valon," Captain Reeves said, offering what appeared to be a gesture of greeting, "I'm honored to meet you. Your research data suggests you've made discoveries that could benefit the entire galaxy." Kes felt her skin shift to warm gold, the Zephyrian color of gratitude and friendship. "Captain Reeves, we owe you our lives. But I must ask, what are humans? Our databases contain no record of your species." The human captain smiled, an expression that seemed friendly despite showing teeth. "We're new to galactic politics, Dr. Valon. Earth is located in what you probably consider unexplored space. We've been watching and learning for decades, but this is our first official contact with galactic civilization." "Your technology is remarkable," Kes observed. "Your weapons, your tactics, they're unlike anything we've encountered." Engineer Jax Morrison stepped forward, his young face excited. "Earth is what xenobiologists would classify as a Class 10 death world. Everything on our planet evolved to survive in extremely hostile conditions. Humans had to become the apex predator, just to survive long enough to develop civilization." Kes felt her skin shift to pale blue as she processed this information. Death worlds were theoretical constructs, planets so dangerous that complex life couldn't evolve there. The idea that an entire species had not only survived but thrived on such a world was mind-boggling. "That explains your military capabilities," she said slowly. "But why did you help us? You don't know us. We couldn't offer you anything in return." Captain Reeves exchanged glances with his officers before answering. "On Earth we have a saying. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. You sent out a distress call. You were in danger from someone stronger than you. We had the ability to help. That's all the reason we needed." As the humans began coordinating with the Zephyrian research team to ensure the station's safety and establish communication protocols, with the Alliance, Dr. Kes Valon realized that first contact with humanity would change everything. These weren't just another spacefaring species. They were something new, something that might finally be able to challenge the galaxy's established order of might makes right. The question was, what would they do with that power? The new galactic order. The news of humanity's intervention at Research Station Theta 7 spread across the galaxy like wildfire through a dry forest. Within days, every major civilization had received detailed reports of the encounter, and the implications were staggering. A previously unknown species had emerged from the galactic rim with technology and tactics that had easily defeated one of the region's most feared military forces. High Counselor Thex stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council, his ceremonial robes rustling with nervous energy. The council chamber, built into a massive space station in neutral territory, had hosted thousands of diplomatic sessions over the centuries. Today felt different. Today felt like history was being written. Fellow counselors, Thex began, his voice carrying across the chamber's advanced acoustic system. We face an unprecedented situation. A new species has made contact with galactic civilization under circumstances that demand our immediate attention. The chamber held representatives from 47 different species, each with their own interests and agendas. The Vorthon representative, a tall being with blue-scaled skin, rose from his designated platform. High Counselor, my government has reviewed the battle recordings. These humans possess military capabilities that threaten the established balance of power. They must be contained before they disrupt galactic stability. Murmurs of agreement rippled through certain sections of the chamber, particularly from representatives of the more aggressive civilizations. The idea of a new military power emerging without warning was deeply unsettling to those who maintained their positions through strength. But not everyone agreed. Dr. Kess Valon, now serving as the Zephyrian Alliance's special ambassador to the Council, stood to address the assembly. Her presence itself was unusual, as the peaceful Zephyrians rarely participated in Council military discussions. With respect, Counselor Vorthon, she said, her voice calm but firm. Humanity saved my research station and crew without asking for anything in return. They fought against overwhelming odds to protect beings they had never met. These are not the actions of a species that threatens galactic stability. Ambassador Yex of the hegemony of Tralix scoffed audibly. The Zephyrians are naive as always. Today they save a research station. Tomorrow they decide which governments are legitimate and which should be removed. Power without oversight is tyranny. Before the debate could escalate further, High Counselor Thex called for order. The humans have requested permission to address this assembly directly. I believe we should hear what they have to say before we debate their intentions. The chamber's main display activated, showing the image of a middle-aged human woman in a formal but unfamiliar uniform. President Elena Vasquez had been elected to lead Earth's unified government only 3 years earlier, and she had never imagined her first major speech would be to an assembly of alien civilizations. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, she began. I am President Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Government. We come before you today not as conquerors or threats, but as a species seeking to join the community of civilized worlds. Her words were simultaneously translated into dozens of languages, but it was her bearing that captured the assembly's attention. There was no arrogance or deference in her manner, simply the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to leadership. We understand that our sudden appearance has caused concern, she continued. We have been observing galactic civilization for decades, learning your languages and customs while debating whether to reveal ourselves. The attack on Research Station, Theta 7 made that decision for us. We could not stand by while innocent beings suffered. Counselor Vorthon interrupted. You claim to value peace, yet your ships destroyed a fleet of 15 vessels with minimal casualties to yourselves. That suggests military capabilities far beyond what any peaceful species should possess. President Vasquez nodded acknowledgement. Earth is what your scientists would classify as an extreme environment world. Humanity evolved alongside predators, natural disasters, and resource scarcity that forced us to become adaptable and resilient. Our military technology reflects our evolutionary history. She paused, allowing that information to sink in before continuing. But power without purpose is meaningless. We propose the establishment of the Terran Protection Protocols, a framework for defending peaceful species against aggression while respecting their sovereignty and independence. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives debated the implications. Some saw opportunity in aligning with a powerful new ally. Others viewed humanity as a potential threat to their own ambitions. Still others questioned whether any species could be trusted with such responsibility. Admiral Sarah Chen, now serving as humanity's military liaison to the galactic community, had been monitoring the council proceedings from the bridge of her flagship. The human fleet had grown substantially in the weeks since first contact, with new vessels arriving daily from Earth's shipyards. "Admiral," reported her intelligence officer, Commander James Walsh, "we're receiving distress signals from 3 different systems. The Malari Collective is under attack by Krex forces, the Delton mining colonies are being raided by pirates, and there's a humanitarian crisis developing in the Proxima Nebula, where refugees from the recent Vorten expansion are stranded without adequate supplies." Sarah studied the tactical displays showing the locations of the various crises. Humanity had made promises about protecting peaceful species, but they were already being tested. 3 different situations, each requiring immediate response, and her fleet could only be in one place at a time. "Sir," added her diplomatic advisor, Dr. Marcus Webb, "if we respond to these calls for help, it will be seen as either validation of our protection protocols or proof that we're interfering in galactic affairs. Either way, it establishes a precedent." The Admiral nodded grimly. This was the challenge President Vasquez had foreseen when she announced the protection protocols. Once humanity committed to defending others, there would always be more crises than ships to respond to them. "Dr. Vallon," Sarah said, activating the communication link to the Zephyrian scientist who had become an unofficial human-alien liaison. "What's your assessment of these situations?" Kes Vallon's image appeared on the main screen, her crystalline blue skin showing the orange patterns of deep concern. She had been working tirelessly to help humanity understand the complex political landscape of galactic civilization. "Admiral Chen," she replied, "all 3 situations are legitimate crises, but they're also tests. The established powers want to see if humans will overextend themselves trying to help everyone, or if you'll prove selective in your interventions." "Political games," Sarah muttered. "While people suffer." "Unfortunately, yes. But there may be a way to address multiple crises simultaneously. The Zephyrian Alliance has been reaching out to other peaceful species since your intervention at Theta 7. Many are interested in joining what they're calling the Human Protection Network." This was news to Sarah. "What kind of commitment are we talking about?" Dr. Vallon's skin shifted to the green of cautious optimism. "Technical assistance, shared intelligence, coordinated humanitarian efforts. Not all species can fight, but many have capabilities that could support your operations. The Altarian Medical Corps, the Centauri Logistics Fleet, the Delian Manufacturing Consortium. They want to contribute to something larger than their individual survival." As if summoned by their conversation, President Vasquez contacted the fleet with an encrypted transmission. Her expression was serious as she addressed Admiral Chen and her senior staff. "Admiral, I've just concluded emergency sessions with 17 different species representatives. The galactic situation is more complex than we initially understood. The Council's major powers are split into 3 factions. Those who want to control us, those who want to destroy us, and those who want to use us for their own purposes." "What about the peaceful species?" asked Dr. Webb. "They're forming their own coalition," the president replied. "Dr. Vallon wasn't exaggerating about the support network. We have formal applications for protective agreements from 23 species, with more arriving daily. But Admiral, accepting these agreements means we're effectively creating a new power block in galactic politics." Sarah understood the implications immediately. Humanity would no longer be a single species making individual decisions about intervention. They would become the military backbone of an alliance that could potentially reshape the galaxy's balance of power. "What are your orders, Madam President?" Elena Vasquez was quiet for a moment, weighing the enormous responsibility they were about to accept. Finally, she spoke with the authority of someone who had made a difficult but necessary decision. We accept the protection agreements with all species that meet our criteria for peaceful intention and legitimate need. Admiral, you are hereby authorized to expand fleet operations to cover multiple simultaneous crises. Earth will accelerate ship production to support these commitments. Ma'am, Admiral Chen said carefully, that's going to put us in direct conflict with some very powerful civilizations. The Vorthan Empire won't tolerate human interference in their expansion plans. The Trellix hegemony considers half these species to be within their sphere of influence. Then they'll learn to tolerate it or face the consequences, the President replied firmly. We didn't seek this responsibility, Admiral, but we won't abandon it now that we've accepted it. The transformation began immediately. Human fleets, dispersed across 3 star systems, coordinating with local forces and allied species to address each crisis. At the Malari Collective, human ships provided military support, while Zephyrian negotiators worked to establish ceasefire talks. In the Deltan colonies, joint human-Altarian operations combined military force with medical assistance for wounded civilians. In the Proxima Nebula, a massive humanitarian convoy assembled supplies from dozens of species to aid the refugee populations. The results were remarkable. Within weeks, all 3 crises had been resolved with minimal casualties and maximum cooperation between previously unaligned species. The success stories spread across the galaxy even faster than the original news of humanity's emergence. But success bred new challenges. On the bridge of his flagship, Vorthan Supreme Commander Kellos studied intelligence reports with growing frustration. The Human Protection Network was disrupting expansion plans that had been decades in the making. They've created a coalition of weaklings, he told his senior staff. Species that should have been conquered or absorbed are now calling themselves protected. This cannot be allowed to continue. His tactical advisor, a scarred veteran of dozens of campaigns, nodded agreement. Sir, our analysis suggests the humans have expanded too quickly. Their fleet is spread thin across multiple systems. A concentrated assault on their home world could end this threat before it grows larger. Kellos considered this option carefully. Earth was located in what Vorthan charts considered unexplored space, far from the established trade routes and political centers. A quick strike could eliminate humanity before their allies could respond. Prepare the 3rd battle fleet, he ordered. Maximum stealth protocols. We end this human problem before it becomes unmanageable. Unknown to the Vorthans, their communications had been intercepted by the Zephyrian intelligence network, which had grown substantially since their alliance with humanity. Dr. Valon received the warning just hours after the Vorthan fleet departed for Earth. Admiral Chen, she transmitted urgently. We have intelligence indicating a major Vorthan assault force heading toward your home system. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. Sarah felt ice form in her stomach. The bulk of the human fleet was scattered across known space, responding to various crises. Earth's defenses were strong, but not designed to repel a full-scale invasion by a major galactic power. How many ships? She asked. Over 200 vessels, including their newest heavy battleships. Admiral, this is the largest military operation the Vorthans have undertaken in decades. They mean to end humanity's interference permanently. Sarah activated emergency protocols, recalling every available ship to Earth's defense. But even at maximum speed, most of her fleet couldn't reach home in time. Earth would face the assault with perhaps 40 ships against 10 times that number. Dr. Valon, she said grimly, it looks like humanity is about to face its first real test as a galactic power. But as Admiral Chen coordinated Earth's defenses, something unexpected began happening across the galaxy. Species that had signed protection agreements with humanity started mobilizing their own forces. The Zephyrian Alliance dispatched their fastest ships loaded with advanced shield technology. The Altarian Medical Corps converted their hospital ships into mobile repair facilities. The Deltan colonies sent their mining vessels hastily fitted with improvised weapons. Most surprising of all, several species that had never signed formal agreements began offering assistance. The Centauri, traditional isolationists, opened their fastest trade routes to human reinforcements. The crystal-based Luminians provided advanced sensor technology to track the approaching Vorthan fleet. President Vasquez watched the situation develop from Earth's command center, deep beneath the planet's surface. Around her, military personnel coordinated with alien liaisons using translation equipment that had been theoretical just months earlier. "Madam President," reported General Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's planetary defense coordinator, "we have confirmation of Allied fleet movements from 17 different species. They're not just offering token support. Some of these are substantial military commitments." Elena stared at the tactical display, showing ships converging on Earth from across the galaxy. When humanity had announced the protection protocols, they had intended to defend others. They had never expected others to risk their own ships defending Earth. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why are they coming to help us?" Dr. Vallon, now permanently stationed on Earth as the Alliance's primary liaison, provided the answer from her position at the diplomatic station. "Because you kept your promises," she said simply. "For the first time in galactic history, a powerful species used their strength to protect others rather than exploit them. That means something to civilizations that have lived in fear for centuries." The battle for Earth was about to begin, but humanity would not face it alone. The galaxy was choosing sides, and for the first time in millennia, the sides were not divided by strength versus weakness, but by those who protected versus those who conquered. As the Vorthan fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, they found themselves facing not just Earth's defenses, but a coalition of species that had never before united for a common cause. The battle that followed would determine whether the galaxy's future belonged to the strong or to those who chose to defend the innocent. Supreme Commander Kellos stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Instead of the 40 human ships his intelligence had predicted, he faced a fleet of over 300 vessels from dozens of different species. The humans had somehow managed to create the largest defensive alliance in galactic history. "Sir," his tactical officer reported nervously, "some of these ship configurations are unknown. We have no tactical data on their capabilities." Kellos realized he had made a fundamental miscalculation. He had seen humanity as another aggressive species to be eliminated. Instead, they had proven to be something far more dangerous, a species that could inspire others to greatness. The first shots of the battle lit up the space around Earth, marking the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. An era where power would be measured not by the ability to conquer, but by the willingness to protect those who could not protect themselves. Humanity had emerged from its isolated world to answer a simple distress call. In doing so, they had accidentally triggered the first truly galactic revolution in recorded history. The Age of Empires was ending. The Age of Alliances was about to begin. If you liked this story, please like it and leave your feedback in the comments. Subscribe for more stories.